The galaxy had been silent about humans for centuries. To most alien races, humanity was nothing more than a fading myth, a story told in council halls or whispered in academies. They spoke of a species that once reached for the stars, burning bright and fierce, but then disappeared. No signals, no ships, no colonies, only silence. Many believed humanity had destroyed itself. Others thought Earth had been abandoned. And some, the oldest species of all, feared that humans had never truly vanished, but had chosen to hide. On the edge of the Orion Arm, a patrol fleet of the Veari Empire drifted in calm space. Their ships were sleek, silver, and lined with blue light, symbols of their long dominance in this sector. Captain Zalar, a tall figure with sharp ridges along his head, leaned back in his chair. To him, this was routine, another sweep through uncharted territory. He expected nothing. But then, the sensors began to scream. "Captain," the helmsman's voice trembled. "We're detecting something massive." The crew leaned forward, staring at their holographic displays. From the darkness of space, energy spikes lit up like lightning storms. At first, they thought it was a natural anomaly. But then, engines, powerful engines, ignited across the void. Dozens of signatures, hundreds, and then thousands. A fleet was arriving. The Veari officers whispered in disbelief. The patterns of the ships didn't match any known empire, not the Sithari, not the Orek, not even the ancient machines of the Kirun. These designs were old yet new. Familiar, yet terrifying. The lines were sharp, functional, and powerful, not decorated like alien vessels. They were built for war, not ceremony. Captain Zalar's throat tightened as one word crossed his mind, a word from the old legends. Humans. From the darkness emerged colossal starships, their hulls black with streaks of silver and glowing thrusters that burned like blue fire. Smaller escorts spread across the formation, protecting the massive carriers and battleships at the center. Their weapons, silent but awake, shone with a deadly light. At the heart of the fleet was the flagship, a towering vessel unlike any the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. Its hull bore no empire's crest, no alien symbols, only one mark, a circle of blue and white, the Earth insignia glowing proudly as though to say, "We are back." Inside the flagship, Admiral Elias Kane stood tall on the command bridge. His eyes were steady as he watched the galaxy beyond. He had trained his entire life for this moment. Humanity had rebuilt in silence, hidden on distant worlds, strengthening, uniting. Now, the long exile was over. "All ships in formation," Kane said, his voice calm but filled with steel. "Transmit the beacon." A young officer nodded and activated the signal. From the flagship, a pulse of energy rippled outward, carrying a message across space. It wasn't in Veari code, nor any galactic standard. It was old Earth language, English. Simple, clear, undeniable. "We are humanity. We have returned." The stars seemed to shiver as the message traveled. Across the patrol ship, alien officers felt a chill run down their spines. Some looked away, unwilling to believe. Others stared in awe. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy heard the voice of humans again. Captain Zalar whispered, almost afraid. The myths were true. In distant sectors, listening stations picked up the signal. On alien worlds, leaders paused in silence as the human voice echoed through their halls. The Council of Nine, rulers of the galaxy, gathered in emergency session as the words played on loop. The ancient fear had come alive, and yet it wasn't fear alone. The signal carried power, pride, and something more, hope. Humanity wasn't begging to be remembered. They weren't asking for permission. They were declaring their presence. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Kane let the silence linger. He knew the galaxy would panic. He knew some would prepare for war, others for desperate diplomacy. Humanity's reputation was not forgotten, too bold, too clever, too dangerous to ignore. But he also knew something else. Humanity had not returned for revenge, not yet. They had returned to remind the galaxy of one truth. The stars had always been humanity's home. The signal from humanity spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, empires stirred, councils argued, and ordinary people whispered the name of a species most had never seen. The words were simple: "We are humanity. We have returned. Yet their weight was heavy, heavier than any fleet or weapon. In the Vayari patrol ship, Captain Zilar stood frozen. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders. Should they attack? Should they flee? Against such a fleet, any resistance was useless. He felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. The legends had always warned that if humanity came back, they would not return weak. "Send a message to High Command," Zilar ordered finally. "Tell them the humans are real. Tell them the stars have shifted." While the Vayari scrambled, the human fleet moved with purpose. It was not random. Every formation, every movement was precise. Smaller frigates scanned surrounding space, cruisers formed a protective wall, and carriers prepared their fighter wings. This was not an expedition. It was a return with strength. Inside the flagship Solaris, Admiral Kane studied the displays. His officers moved quickly, adjusting to the long-awaited plan. Humanity had not left Earth only to vanish. They had retreated, hidden, rebuilt far from prying eyes. Generations had worked in secret, crafting ships, building colonies, and preparing for the day when they would step back into the galaxy's light. That day had come. "Admiral," said Commander Lin, a woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. "We are receiving multiple signals. Alien empires are trying to communicate. Patch them through," Kane replied. The screen lit up with alien faces. Some were reptilian, some insect-like, others with glowing eyes or shimmering skin. They all carried the same expression, shock mixed with caution. "Humans," one of them hissed, his voice trembling through translation. "We thought your kind destroyed itself." Kane did not smile. He stood firm, hands clasped behind his back. "We endured," another voice, deeper and older, cut through. "Why now? Why return after centuries of silence?" The Admiral's gaze hardened. "Because the galaxy forgot us, and we do not allow ourselves to be forgotten," the aliens murmured among themselves. Some were afraid. Others were angry. To them, humans were unpredictable. They were known for creativity in war, for rising against impossible odds. Entire empires had once underestimated them and paid the price. Kane let them speak, but he also knew this was only the beginning. The true purpose of humanity's return was not to answer questions. It was to remind the galaxy of what was lost when humanity vanished, and what would change now that they were back. "Admiral," Lin said quietly, "Council of 9 has declared an emergency meeting. They demand your presence." Kane nodded. "Prepare a channel. We'll speak on their stage." Far away, in the grand halls of the Galactic Council, panic spread like fire. The 9 most powerful empires filled the chamber, their voices rising in anger. "The humans will destabilize everything," shouted the Sithari delegate, his wings flaring. "We must prepare fleets to contain them." "They bring danger," said another, a cold machine intelligence with a metallic tone. "Their history is violence. Their return is a threat." But not all agreed. The elder race of Aerith, known for wisdom, spoke calmly. Perhaps their silence was not weakness. Perhaps it was patience. "Do not judge too quickly." The council fell silent when the human signal reached them. The words replayed again, "We are humanity. We have returned." Whispers filled the chamber. Old fears surfaced. Stories told to frighten children suddenly felt real again. And then, for the first time in history, a human appeared on the council's projection screens. Admiral Kane's image flickered into view, standing tall in his dark uniform, the Earth insignia glowing faintly on his chest. His face was calm, his voice steady. "Council of 9, Kane began. "You wonder why we have returned. The answer is simple. The stars are our birthright. For too long we allowed silence to erase us." "That silence ends today," gasps echoed through the chamber. Some delegates shouted in protest. Others leaned forward, trying to read Kane's expression. He was not arrogant. He was not pleading. He was simply stating a fact. "We come not as conquerors," Kane continued, "but neither do we come as servants. We are humanity. We have endured, we have grown, and we will take our place among the stars once more." The council erupted in chaos. Some demanded his fleet leave at once. Others begged for negotiations. A few even whispered of alliances. Humanity had not fired a single shot, yet already they had shaken the balance of power. Kane's final words cut through the noise. You may fear us, you may welcome us, but one thing you cannot do is ignore us. Humanity has returned, and the galaxy will never be the same. The projection ended. Silence followed, but it was not peace. It was the silence before a storm. On the flagship, Admiral Kane stood by the viewing window. The stars stretched endlessly before him, ancient and bright. For generations, humanity had dreamed of this day, to see the stars not as strangers but as witnesses to their return. Commander Lin joined him. "They're afraid," she said softly. "As they should be," Kane replied. "But fear is only the beginning. Soon they will understand." "Understand what, sir?" "That humanity is not a myth," Kane said. His eyes never left the stars. "We are destiny." The fleet moved forward, engines glowing brighter, as if the very stars themselves leaned closer to watch. The return of humanity was no longer a rumor, no longer a whisper in forgotten halls. It was real, and it had only just begun. The galaxy could not stay quiet after humanity's broadcast. News spread like a storm across every world and station. Markets trembled, fleets were recalled, and leaders gathered behind closed doors. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted to know, what did the humans plan? On the distant planet Kylor, a Vayari senator named Drex stood before his people. His face was stern, his voice sharp. "The humans are dangerous. If we allow them to rise again, they will shatter the balance we built. We must act first." His speech was met with fear and applause. The Vayari Empire had ruled vast sectors for centuries. They were proud, and they did not want challengers. And yet beneath their pride there was unease. Even Drex, with all his bluster, remembered the old stories. He remembered that humans did not fight like others. They adapted. They learned. They endured. Meanwhile, in the council halls, arguments grew hotter. Some demanded war. Others pleaded for caution. One alien leader, the elder Aerith, known as Solvath, raised his long, pale hand. His voice was deep and calm. "Do you not see? Humanity vanished for centuries, yet returned stronger than before. Do you truly believe they did this to be crushed again? No, they have a purpose. We must discover it before we choose war." But few listened. Fear spoke louder than wisdom. On board the human flagship Solaris, Admiral Kane listened as his officers reported the council's chaos. He remained calm, his hands resting on the railing of the bridge. "Admiral," Commander Lin said, "intercepted transmissions suggest the Vayari are mobilizing. They are gathering fleets near their borders." Kane nodded. "I expected that. They will not wait. Fear drives them faster than reason." He turned to the crew. "Then we must act with precision. Humanity has returned not only to be seen, but to shape the galaxy's future." The officers around him stiffened with determination. They had trained for this day their entire lives. Humanity's silence had been long, but it had forged them into steel. "Prepare the fleet," Kane ordered. "We will not strike first. But if they come, we will show them what humanity has become." Far away in a hidden chamber beneath the Vayari capital, military leaders argued around a glowing table. Dozens of fleet markers flickered across the projection. "They have warships larger than anything we've seen," one general growled. "Their carriers could launch endless fighter waves. We cannot match them head-on," another replied. "Then we don't fight head-on. We strike their supply lines. We isolate them before they grow stronger." But Drex, the senator, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "No, we must make an example. If the galaxy sees humanity bleed, their legend dies. We will strike hard, fast, and crush their pride." The room went quiet. Drex's words were bold, but also reckless. Still, many nodded. Fear often made allies of the desperate. Back on the Solaris, Kane stood before a private chamber where young officers gathered. They were restless, whispering about the possibility of war. He stepped inside, and the whispers fell silent. "You are all wondering the same thing," Kane said. "Will the galaxy accept us, or will it try to destroy us?" No one spoke, but their faces showed the question clearly. Kane walked slowly among them. "When humanity vanished, they thought us gone forever. They grew used to a galaxy without us. But remember this, they do not fear our weapons. They fear our spirit. They fear that no matter how many times we fall, we rise again." A young officer raised his hand nervously. "Sir, If war comes, do we have the strength to win? Kane's eyes were steady. We do not just have strength. We have history. Every battle we fought, every struggle we endured has brought us here. If they test us, they will learn what it means to awaken humanity. The room filled with quiet resolve. The fear was still there, but so was pride. As the days passed, alien fleets gathered at their borders. Reports came in of Vayari warships moving closer, of council debates breaking down, of smaller empires rushing to choose sides. Some hoped to ally with humanity, believing they could rise with them. Others whispered of betrayal and secret plots. Humanity's signal had done more than announce their return. It had shaken the galaxy's heart. Admiral Kane stood once more by the great viewing window. The stars glittered beyond, ancient and eternal. Yet even they seemed to lean closer, as if listening. Commander Lin approached quietly. "Sir, do you believe war is inevitable?" Kane did not answer right away. He stared at the stars, remembering Earth, remembering the long silence that had built this moment. "Perhaps," he said finally. "But remember, Lin, humanity has never feared war. It is not war we seek. It is our place, and we will claim it." The Solaris drifted forward, its engines humming with quiet power. Across the galaxy, alien eyes watched, hearts heavy with fear and anticipation. Humanity's shadow stretched long, and for the first time in centuries, the stars bore witness not to silence, but to the beginning of a storm. The return was no longer just a declaration. It was a challenge. The galaxy trembled as rumors of humanity spread. Every port, every colony, every council chamber buzzed with talk. Some called them saviors, others called them monsters, but no one denied one fact. Humanity was back. The Vayari Empire moved fastest. They could not wait for the Council of Nine to debate endlessly. In hidden shipyards, massive fleets were prepared. War drums echoed across their worlds. Drex, the senator who had called for immediate action, now stood at the heart of their war council. "The humans must be stopped before they grow stronger," Drex declared. "If they spread their influence, the galaxy will kneel to them. We will not let myths command us." The generals around him nodded, but unease showed in their eyes. They had studied human history. They knew humanity did not fight like other species, and yet pride would not let them back down. On board the human flagship Solaris, Admiral Kane received word of Vayari mobilization. His officers gathered on the bridge, the air thick with tension. "Admiral," Commander Lin said, "intelligence confirms the Vayari have launched fleets. They are moving toward neutral space. They intend to provoke us." Kane's eyes narrowed. "Then it begins sooner than expected." Captain Joran, a younger officer, clenched his fists. "We should strike first. Show them what humanity can do." But Kane shook his head. "No, the galaxy must see who begins this war. We will not give them reason to call us aggressors." He turned to the fleet map, where glowing markers showed enemy movements. "Hold formation. Let them come, and when they strike, we will answer." Far from the flagship, on a barren world known as Kether Prime, the first clash was brewing. Kether was small, unimportant, a mining outpost with no great value. But it sat between Vayari and human-controlled sectors. To the Vayari, it was the perfect place to test humanity's resolve. The miners on Kether saw the sky darken as Vayari warships descended. The ground shook as troops landed, their banners flashing silver and blue. Within hours, the colony was under occupation. A Vayari commander broadcast a message across the stars. His voice was sharp, cold, and filled with triumph. "Humans, you speak of return, but we see only weakness. Kether is ours. If you wish to challenge us, come and bleed." The galaxy watched closely. Would humanity respond? Would the myths of their power prove true or fade into nothing? On the Solaris, Admiral Kane stood silent as the message played. His officers shifted nervously. The insult was clear. The challenge was undeniable. Commander Lin's voice was calm but firm. "Sir, if we do nothing, they will believe we are afraid." Kane's eyes were hard. "Fear is not in our nature." He looked around the bridge, meeting the eyes of every officer. "Prepare the fleet. We move for Kether." The order spread like fire. Engines roared to life across the human armada. Fighters were armed, weapons charged, and carriers awakened. The silence of centuries was over. Now came the storm. In the depths of space, the human fleet entered warp, streaking through the void like spears of light. The stars blurred past them, witnesses once again to humanity's path. On the bridge, Kane stood at the center, hands clasped behind his back. He spoke not to one officer, but to every soul aboard every ship. His voice carried through calm, steady, and strong. Soldiers of Earth, today we do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for vengeance. We fight to show the galaxy that humanity lives, that we endure, that we are unbroken. Let the stars themselves witness what it means to stand against us. Across the fleet, cheers erupted. The humans were ready. Kether Prime's skies burned as the Vayari fleet orbited above. Their commanders felt confident, their troops arrogant. But then alarms screamed. From hyperspace, light tore open. One by one, massive human warships emerged. Their black and silver hulls glowed with blue fire. The Earth insignia shone proudly, and their weapons hummed with power. The Vayari officers froze. They had expected a few ships, a desperate force. Instead, an armada filled the skies. Admiral Kane's voice echoed across open channels. This is Admiral Elias Kane of humanity. Kether Prime belongs to no empire. Withdraw or face the consequences, the Vayari commander laughed bitterly. You think we fear your words? You are only myths. Today we bury your legend, Kane gave a single order. Then let the galaxy remember. The battle began. Human fighters screamed out of their carriers, engines blazing. Vayari interceptors rushed to meet them, and the skies exploded in fire. Cruisers clashed, their weapons lighting space with storms of plasma and steel. The mining colony below shook as shockwaves ripped through the atmosphere. On the bridge of the Solaris, Kane stood unshaken. Target their flagship. Break their pride. The human warship Atlas, a massive battleship, moved forward. Its cannons charged, glowing brighter and brighter. Then, with a single thunderous blast, a beam of energy tore through the void and struck the Vayari flagship. The enemy ship cracked, split apart, and exploded in a blinding burst of fire. Across the battlefield, Vayari ships faltered. Their confidence shattered. What they thought were myths had become steel and fire before their eyes. The miners of Kether watched from below, stunned. For the first time in centuries, they saw human ships above their world. Powerful, relentless, real. Admiral Kane's voice carried again, calm and steady. This is humanity's return. Let all who challenge us remember this day. The Vayari fleet broke. Some fought desperately, others fled in terror. The battle was over. Humanity had answered, and the stars, silent witnesses to it all, burned brighter, as if they too knew the galaxy had changed forever. The Battle of Kether Prime echoed across the galaxy. What was meant to be a show of Vayari dominance had turned into their humiliation. Their flagship was destroyed, their fleet scattered, and their pride crushed. The legend of humanity was no longer a whisper. It was alive, burning bright in every system. News spread faster than light. Merchants carried tales of the human fleet. Soldiers repeated the words of Admiral Kane. Colonists, long forgotten by the empires, began to whisper with hope. Perhaps the humans would bring change. But for the Vayari, it was a wound that could not heal. In the great halls of the Vayari capital, Senator Drex raged before the high command. His ridged face twisted with anger, his voice booming. They humiliated us before the stars. If we do not strike harder, the galaxy will believe the humans are stronger than us. We cannot allow this! A general, older and wiser, raised a clawed hand. Drex, we underestimated them. Their technology has advanced. Their fleets are disciplined. We must rethink our strategy. But Drex's pride burned brighter than reason. No, we will not bow to myths. If they want war, we will give it to them. On the human flagship Solaris, the victory at Kether did not bring celebration, but preparation. Admiral Kane stood at the viewing deck, his eyes on the stars. Admiral, Commander Lin said softly, messages are flooding in. Smaller empires are reaching out. Some want alliances. Others want protection. They see us as a new power. Kane nodded slowly. and others will see us as a threat. That is the way of the galaxy. Captain Joran, still young and fiery, stepped forward. We should take advantage of this, Admiral. Strike while they are afraid. Expand, claim territory, show the galaxy our strength. Kane's gaze was steady. Strength is not just in conquest, Captain. We did not return to become tyrants. We returned to take our place. To remind them we are not ghosts. Lynn tilted her head. And if they force us into war? Kane's voice was calm, but his words were iron. Then we will fight. And the stars will remember. The Council of Nine convened once again. This time the chamber was filled with fury. The Vayari delegate slammed his claws against the table. You see what has happened? The humans attacked Kether. They destroyed our fleet. They are dangerous! The elder Aerith Solvath leaned forward, his ancient eyes glowing faintly. No, they defended a colony you seized unlawfully. It was you who struck first. The council broke into chaos. Voices overlapped, accusations, warnings, pleas. Some argued humanity must be destroyed. Others argued they must be embraced. But one truth became clear. Humanity had split the council itself. In the shadows of the chamber, alliances shifted. Deals were whispered. War was not yet declared, but its shadow hung heavy. Meanwhile, on Earth, the cradle of humanity stirred once more. Cities glowed with renewed life. Industries thrived, and academies prepared new generations of explorers and soldiers. Humanity had not only rebuilt its fleets, it had rebuilt its spirit. In a vast hall, beneath the old blue and white insignia of Earth, citizens gathered to hear the words of Admiral Kane, broadcast live across human worlds. His face appeared on giant screens, his voice strong and steady. People of Earth and of all our colonies, hear this. For centuries we were silent, hidden, forgotten. But we endured. We built. We rose again. And now the galaxy knows our name once more. Applause thundered across the worlds, but Kane's tone remained calm. We do not seek to rule them. We do not seek their submission, but we will not bow. If they wish to test us, they will see the strength of humanity. If they wish peace, they will see our hand extended. This is our era. This is our return. The people roared in unity. For the first time in centuries, they felt not like survivors, but like destiny itself. Back in the Vayari capital, Drex stood before his generals, his voice venomous. The humans humiliated us once. It will not happen again. We will build a fleet greater than theirs. We will call upon allies, and when we strike, the stars themselves will shake. The generals hesitated. Some believed in his words. Others feared repeating the same mistake. But Drex's will was iron, and fear of humanity pushed them forward. Unknown to them, spies had already carried Drex's words to human ears. On the Solaris, Kane received the intelligence and read it silently. His officers waited for his response. Finally, he spoke. Then the galaxy chooses its path. We offered peace. They choose fear. Very well. He looked out at the endless stars, his voice a whisper meant only for himself. Let the stars witness what comes next. The galaxy stood on the edge of a storm. Empires chose sides, whispers of rebellion rose in colonies, and the name of humanity spread like fire. Some prayed they would be protectors. Others swore they would be destroyers. But no one, not even the Council of Nine, could deny it anymore. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy was no longer stable. Humanity's return had shaken everything. Trade routes shifted, alliances trembled, and every empire prepared for war. Some wanted humanity as an ally. Others wanted them destroyed before they grew too strong. For Admiral Kane, the choice had already been made. Humanity would not bow, nor would they conquer blindly. They would stand and they would endure. But the storm was coming. On the Solaris, the bridge was alive with activity. Officers read reports, signals flashed across the holoscreens, and the sound of distant engines rumbled through the ship. Admiral, Commander Lynn said, our scouts confirm the Vayari are gathering their largest fleet yet. Their shipyards are running day and night. They are preparing for a war that will not be small. Kane nodded, his face calm but his eyes sharp. They believe numbers will win. They forget history. Humanity has faced greater odds before. Captain Joran leaned forward. Sir, if they bring their entire fleet, we cannot hold with defense alone. We must strike where it hurts. Kane considered his words. The Vayari had pride, but pride left weak spots. If humanity could strike not their ships, but their will, the galaxy would see their true strength. Far away, in the Vayari capital, Senator Drex stood before his council again. His voice was fire, his hands clenched. They humiliated us at Kether. Now we answer with fire! We will unleash a fleet that will blot out their stars. His words were met with cheers from some, unease from others. General Tarex, an older strategist, spoke carefully. Drex, we underestimated them once. Their ships are powerful. Their fleets are disciplined. If we rush blindly, we may lose more than we gain. Drex's eyes blazed. You speak like a coward. Humanity is a threat to all we built. If fear rules us, then they have already won. The council erupted in argument. Some supported Drex's fury. Others whispered of caution. But no one spoke of peace. The path to war had been chosen. Back on Earth, life thrived. Children studied stars in glowing academies, engineers built faster ships, and colonies sent resources to the fleet. Humanity was no longer scattered survivors. They were united. In a broadcast from Earth's central city, the leaders of humanity addressed their people. A woman named Chancellor Aria Vale, tall and resolute, spoke with pride. For centuries we were shadows. For centuries we were forgotten. But today the galaxy knows our voice again. We will not be silenced. We will not be erased. The stars are our destiny, and we will claim them together. Her words spread across human space, bringing unity and hope. Humanity was not just following Kane. They were following a dream that stretched across every world they had built in exile. On the Solaris, Kane gathered his officers in the war room. The table glowed with projections of Vayari fleets, shipyards, and colonies. They will bring their war to us, Kane said. But we will not wait for them to choose the battlefield. He pointed to a glowing marker deep in Vayari territory. This is Rhineth Shipyard. It is their largest producer of warships. If we strike it, their fleets will bleed before they even fight. Lin raised an eyebrow. A bold move, risky, but if it succeeds, the balance shifts. Joran grinned. Then we make them see that humanity does not fight with numbers. We fight with precision. Kane nodded. Prepare the strike force. The time has come. Days later, the human fleet entered Vayari space under cover of darkness. The stars were silent, the void heavy with tension. Stealth ships slipped ahead, scanning defenses. Fighters were armed, cannons charged, engines silent but ready. At the heart of the fleet, Kane stood tall. His voice reached every ship. Soldiers of Earth, tonight we strike not for conquest, but for survival. The Vayari seek to erase us, but we will show them that humanity does not fade. We rise, we endure, and we make the stars remember the order came. The fleet moved. Over Rhineth, the Vayari shipyards glowed like a city in the void. Dozens of half-built warships floated in their docks, surrounded by defenses. Patrol ships drifted lazily, unaware of what was coming. Then, light tore across the skies. The human fleet emerged, weapons blazing. Fighters screamed forward, bombers dove into the docks, and battleships rained fire on defenses. Explosions lit the void as half-built warships shattered. Flames erupted across the massive structures. Vayari alarms filled the system, but it was too late. Humanity had struck fast, sharp, and without mercy. On the bridge of the Solaris, Kane watched the destruction unfold. His voice was steady. This is not war for glory. This is survival, and survival is what humanity does best. When news reached the galaxy, shock followed. The Vayari's pride, their grand shipyard, was in ruins. Their fleet was crippled before it could even launch. Some empires trembled at humanity's boldness. Others saw opportunity and whispered of alliance. The Council of Nine erupted again, their chamber filled with chaos. Do you see? The Sithari delegate shrieked. They will burn us all if left unchecked. But the elder Arith Solvath only closed his eyes and whispered, No, they are not here to burn. They are here to remind us why we feared them. On the Solaris, the fleet gathered once more, engines glowing against the stars. Humanity had proven itself again. not only strong but unrelenting. Commander Lin looked at Kane. "We've hurt them badly. But this is only the beginning." Kane's gaze was firm, his voice steady. "Yes, they will come with fury. They will come with numbers, but we will meet them. And when we do, the stars themselves will bear witness." The galaxy braced itself. The storm had arrived. Humanity was no longer a whisper, no longer a myth. They were a force, and the stars, watching in silence, knew the war of return was only beginning. The strike on Rhinath shook the galaxy like thunder. No one had expected the humans to be so bold. The Veyari's pride was shattered, their shipyards destroyed, their fleets crippled before they could rise. But humiliation turned to rage. In the Veyari capital, Senator Drex stood before millions, his ridged face lit by the glow of fire banners. His voice carried across the empire, sharp and venomous. "They think us weak! They think us prey! But we will show the humans what it means to defy the Veyari. We will unleash everything, our fleets, our armies, our wrath. Let the galaxy see who rules the stars." Crowds roared, their fear drowned by anger. Across the empire, warships were pulled from every dock, soldiers conscripted from every world. Drex was no longer speaking only to his people. He was speaking to the galaxy, declaring that war with humanity would be total. On the Solaris, Admiral Kane listened to Drex's speech. His officers watched in silence, unease heavy in the air. Commander Lin broke the quiet. "They will throw everything at us. Numbers we cannot match." Captain Joran slammed his fist on the table. "Let them come. We showed them at Kether. We showed them at Rhinath. We'll break them again." Kane's gaze stayed fixed on the stars. His voice was calm but cold. "Do not mistake their rage for weakness, Joran. Desperation can make even a broken empire dangerous." He turned to the fleet map, glowing with enemy markers. "They will come soon. And when they do, it will not be a skirmish. It will be war." In the Council of Nine, chaos reached its peak. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices filled with panic. "The humans destroyed Rhinath. They will destroy us next." "No, they are defending themselves. It was the Veyari who struck first. They must be stopped before they grow stronger. They must be embraced before they choose to conquer." The chamber shook with fury, but one voice silenced them all. Elder Solvath, calm and ancient, raised his hand. "The galaxy is blind. You speak of fear and vengeance, but you do not see the truth. Humanity is not like us. They are not bound by caution nor broken by loss. They return stronger each time they fall. If you push them into war, you may unleash a storm none of us can contain." His warning lingered, but few listened. Fear still ruled the chamber. Meanwhile, humanity prepared. On Earth, industries thundered, shipyards glowed, and colonies sent resources to the fleet. The people were united as never before. The silence of centuries had hardened them, and now that silence had given birth to fire. Admiral Kane addressed his soldiers once more. His voice carried across every ship, every station, every colony. "The Veyari come with fury. They come with numbers. But remember this, they do not fight for survival. They fight for pride. And pride will not save them. We fight for our people, for our worlds, for our future. The stars will witness us, and they will remember." The fleet answered with thunderous voices. Humanity was ready. The clash came sooner than expected. In the dark void near the Aris Belt, Veyari fleets emerged like a storm of fire. Hundreds of warships, their banners blazing, their weapons glowing. It was the largest armada the Veyari had ever assembled. From hyperspace, humanity answered. The Solaris led the way, followed by carriers, cruisers, and battleships. Fighters roared from their bays, engines blazing blue. The stars themselves seemed to vanish under the glow of two massive fleets facing each other. Silence fell for a moment, a silence so deep it felt as though the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Then the storm broke. Veyari cannons lit the void, their blasts tearing across space. Human shields flared, ships rocking under the impact. Fighters weaved between beams of plasma, unleashing missiles that streaked into enemy hulls. Explosions blossomed like stars, scattering debris into the endless night. On the bridge of the Solaris, Kane stood unshaken. "Hold formation. Do not break. Let them come." Waves of Veyari ships rushed forward, but humanity's line did not falter. Cruisers fired in perfect coordination, battleships unleashed their massive cannons, and carriers poured out fighter after fighter. It was chaos, fire, and thunder, but also discipline. Humanity's fleets moved as one, like a blade cutting through the storm. In the heart of the battle, Captain Duran commanded his cruiser Valor. His ship shook under heavy fire. Alarms screaming, but his voice was steady. Target their lead destroyer. Full power! His cannons roared, tearing the Vayari ship apart in a blaze of light. Cheers erupted across the bridge. But before they could celebrate, another wave of enemy ships descended. Hold steady, Joran shouted. The Admiral leads us. We do not break. Back on the Solaris, Kane gave his final command. Target their command ship. Break their will. The human battleship Atlas moved forward again, its cannons charging with deadly light. A thunderous blast cut across the void, slamming into the Vayari command ship. The massive vessel cracked, fire ripping through its hull. For a moment, silence fell across the Vayari fleet. Their pride, their leader, their center, broken in one strike. Panic spread. Ships faltered. The storm that began with fury began to collapse under fear. Across the battlefield, human voices rose in victory. But Admiral Kane did not smile. His eyes stayed on the stars, his voice a whisper only Lynn heard. This is only the beginning. The galaxy will not stop with the Vayari. They will all come. But we will endure. We always endure. And as the wreckage of the Vayari fleet drifted silently, the stars burned brighter, bearing witness to humanity's rise once more. Do you want me to finish with Part 8, the conclusion of the story? Or pause here and create Leonardo mid-journey prompts for Part 7 before writing the final part? You said 8 ChatGPT said, all right, here's the final part, Part 8 of The Stars Witness Humanity's Return, HFY story. Same style, third person, simple, basic English, 1,000 words. The wreckage of the Vayari fleet drifted silently in the void. Fires flickered across shattered hulls, pieces of metal floated like broken stars, and the once proud banners of the Empire were nothing but ashes. Humanity had stood against an armada of overwhelming numbers, and won. But Admiral Kane did not let the fleet celebrate too long. Victory was dangerous when it brought pride. On the bridge of the Solaris, his voice was steady. Do not forget, this battle is not the end. It is only the beginning. The Vayari will not forgive, and the Council will not stay divided forever. We must prepare for what comes next. His officers nodded, their faces hard with resolve. Humanity had proven itself, but proof brought attention, and attention brought danger. In the Vayari capital, chaos consumed the Empire. Senator Drex's fiery words had brought them into war, but now, after 2 humiliating defeats, his voice trembled with desperation. We will rebuild. We cannot be broken, he shouted before the council. But his generals no longer believed. The pride of the Vayari was fractured. Some whispered of surrender. Others whispered of revenge. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt small. Meanwhile, the Council of 9 gathered in emergency session. Their chamber was heavy with silence. The galaxy's most powerful leaders sat in shadow, the echoes of humanity's victory still fresh in their minds. They destroyed the Vayari fleet, one delegate whispered. They destroyed Reneth. They are not myths. They are fire. Another replied bitterly. Then we must unite to end them before they rise further. But Elder Solvath's voice carried above them all, calm and deep. You do not understand. They cannot be ended. Humanity is not a passing flame. They are a storm. Each time you strike them, they rise stronger. To fight them blindly is to doom us all. The council fell into silence. None could deny the truth. Humanity had changed the galaxy, and nothing would return to the way it was. On Earth, the people watched the broadcasts of victory. They saw Vayari ships burn. They heard Kane's steady words, and their hearts swelled with pride. For centuries, they had been forgotten. Now, the stars themselves echoed their name. In the central square of Earth's capital, Chancellor Arya Vale addressed the people. Her voice carried across every colony, every station, every world. We have endured. We have risen. And now the galaxy knows us again. But remember this, we do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for glory. We fight so that our children may never be silenced again. Humanity's place among the stars is not given. It is earned, and we have earned it. The roar of the people echoed like thunder, a sound not of war, but of unity. On the Solaris, Cain stood once more at the great window of the bridge. The stars stretched endlessly, ancient and unchanging. Yet tonight they seemed brighter, as if they too understood what they had witnessed. Commander Lin approached quietly. "Sir, the galaxy is watching. Some fear us. Some hate us. But others look to us as a light." Cain's eyes stayed on the stars. "Then let them see not fear, but resolve. Let them see not conquest, but endurance. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity does not bow. We stand," Lin smiled faintly. "And what now?" Cain's voice was low, steady, unshaken. "Now, we prepare, because this was not the end of our return. It was only the beginning." Beyond the Solaris, the fleet drifted in silence, engines glowing softly against the void. Thousands of human soldiers watched the stars, their hearts filled with pride. They were no longer myths, no longer shadows. The stars themselves had witnessed humanity's return, and the galaxy would never forget. The wreckage of the Vayari fleet drifted silently in the void. Fires flickered across shattered hulls, pieces of metal floated like broken stars, and the once proud banners of the Empire were nothing but ashes. Humanity had stood against an armada of overwhelming numbers, and won. But Admiral Cain did not let the fleet celebrate too long. Victory was dangerous when it brought pride. On the bridge of the Solaris, his voice was steady. "Do not forget, this battle is not the end. It is only the beginning. The Vayari will not forgive, and the Council will not stay divided forever. We must prepare for what comes next." His officers nodded, their faces hard with resolve. Humanity had proven itself, but proof brought attention, and attention brought danger. In the Vayari capital, chaos consumed the Empire. Senator Drex's fiery words had brought them into war, but now, after 2 humiliating defeats, his voice trembled with desperation. We will rebuild. We cannot be broken," he shouted before the council. But his generals no longer believed. The pride of the Vayari was fractured. Some whispered of surrender. Others whispered of revenge. For the first time in centuries, the Empire felt small. Meanwhile, the Council of 9 gathered in emergency session. Their chamber was heavy with silence. The galaxy's most powerful leaders sat in shadow, the echoes of humanity's victory still fresh in their minds. "They destroyed the Vayari fleet," one delegate whispered. "They destroyed Rhinath. They are not myths. They are fire," another replied bitterly. "Then we must unite to end them before they rise further." But Elder Solvath's voice carried above them all, calm and deep. "You do not understand. They cannot be ended. Humanity is not a passing flame. They are a storm. Each time you strike them, they rise stronger. To fight them blindly is to doom us all." The council fell into silence. None could deny the truth. Humanity had changed the galaxy, and nothing would return to the way it was. On Earth, the people watched the broadcasts of victory. They saw Vayari ships burn. They heard Cain's steady words, and their hearts swelled with pride. For centuries, they had been forgotten. Now the stars themselves echoed their name. In the central square of Earth's capital, Chancellor Aria Vale addressed the people. Her voice carried across every colony, every station, every world. "We have endured. We have risen. And now the galaxy knows us again. But remember this, we do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for glory. We fight so that our children may never be silenced again. Humanity's place among the stars is not given. It is earned. And we have earned it." The roar of the people echoed like thunder, a sound not of war, but of unity. On the Solaris, Cain stood once more at the great window of the bridge. The stars stretched endlessly, ancient and unchanging. Yet tonight they seemed brighter, as if they too understood what they had witnessed. Commander Lin approached quietly. "Sir, the galaxy is watching. Some fear us, some hate us. But others look to us as a light. Cain's eyes stayed on the stars. Then let them see not fear, but resolve. Let them see not conquest, but endurance. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity does not bow. We stand, Lynn smiled faintly. And what now? Cain's voice was low, steady, unshaken. Now, we prepare. Because this was not the end of our return. It was only the beginning. Beyond the Solaris, the fleet drifted in silence, engines glowing softly against the void. Thousands of human soldiers watched the stars, their hearts filled with pride. They were no longer myths, no longer shadows. The stars themselves had witnessed humanity's return, and the galaxy would never forget.